My parents demanded I cancel my engagement party for my sister's work promotion celebration. After 2 years of planning, my dream engagement party was finally happening. David and I had saved for months, invited 150 guests, booked the perfect venue. But when Emily got promoted at her marketing firm, everything changed. Mom called with her family emergency voice. "Cancel your party, Sarah. Emily's promotion celebration is more important. She's always been the achiever." I refused. The next morning, I discovered the truth that shattered everything I believed about my family. I'm Sarah Martinez, 32 years old, and I thought I had the perfect family. David and I had been together for 4 years, and when he proposed last Christmas, I genuinely believed my parents were as excited as we were. Mom cried happy tears, Dad gave David the firm handshake of approval, and Emily squealed like we were teenagers again. "Oh, honey, this is going to be the most beautiful engagement party," Mom had said, pulling me into one of her signature bear hugs. "We'll invite everyone, the whole extended family, all our friends from the neighborhood. This is such a special moment." That was 8 months ago. 8 months of venue hunting, tasting cakes, picking flowers, and creating the guest list from hell. David had been incredibly patient through all of it, even when I had my meltdown over whether the napkins should be cream or ivory. "Babe, literally no one will notice," he'd said, pulling me close in our tiny kitchen. "They'll be too busy celebrating how amazing you look and how lucky I am." That's what I loved about David Thompson. He always knew exactly what to say to bring me back down to earth. He was practical where I was emotional, calm where I was chaotic. My parents adored him, which honestly had been a relief. Growing up, they'd never quite approved of my choices. My college major wasn't prestigious enough, my first apartment wasn't in the right neighborhood, my career wasn't ambitious enough. But David? David, they loved immediately. "He's so stable," Mom would say. "And he clearly worships you, sweetheart," Dad would nod approvingly. "Good head on his shoulders. Reminds me of myself at that age." Emily, my 28-year-old sister, had been just as enthusiastic. "I can't wait to be your maid of honor," she'd gushed. "This is going to be incredible, Sarah. You deserve this so much." See, Emily had always been the achiever in our family. Valedictorian in high school, full scholarship to Northwestern, MBA from Kellogg, fast-tracked up the corporate ladder at a prestigious marketing firm downtown. Meanwhile, I'd gotten my communications degree from a state school, worked my way up slowly in a smaller company, and honestly, I was okay with that. I liked my life. I liked my job. I liked that David and I could afford our cozy apartment and weekend trips to Wisconsin. But there were moments, tiny, almost imperceptible moments, where I'd catch something in my parents' conversations. "Emily just closed another major client," Mom would mention casually over Sunday dinner. "Her boss says she's on track for senior director by 30. "That's amazing," I'd respond. And I meant it. I was proud of Emily. But then David would squeeze my hand under the table, and I'd realize he'd noticed it too. The way my parents' faces lit up when they talked about Emily's achievements versus the polite interest they showed in my work stories. "Your parents love you," David would remind me later. "They just express it differently." And I believed him. I wanted to believe him. Because when you grow up in a family, you learn to interpret love in the language they speak. My parents weren't huggers or constant affirmers like some families. They showed love through actions, through being there, through caring about your life. Right? The engagement party planning had actually brought us closer together, or so I thought. Mom called me every few days with ideas, suggestions, questions about the menu. Dad offered to pay for the bar service without me even asking. Emily helped me pick out my dress, a gorgeous flowing navy number that made me feel like the princess I'd never quite felt like growing up. "You look absolutely stunning," Emily had said when I came out of the dressing room. "David's going to die when he sees you." 3 weeks before the party, everything was perfect. The RSVPs were mostly in, 127 people confirmed, which was more than I'd ever imagined would want to celebrate David and me. The venue was booked, the caterer was locked in, the flowers were ordered. David had surprised me with a pre-party weekend getaway to Lake Geneva, just the two of us. "I want you to relax before the big day," he'd said. "You've been so stressed about every detail being perfect." "Because it has to be perfect," I'd insisted. "This is our moment, you know? Our families coming together, all our friends in one place, celebrating us. It's like the kickoff to our whole future." David had smiled that patient smile I loved so much. "It's going to be amazing because you're amazing. But Sarah, even if something goes wrong, if it rains, if the caterer messes up, if your dad tells his embarrassing story about you in third grade, it's still going to be perfect because we're doing it together." That Sunday afternoon, we were sprawled on our couch planning the final seating chart when my phone rang. Mom's contact photo lit up the screen, the one of her laughing at last year's 4th of July barbecue, looking relaxed and happy. "Hey Mom, what's up?" "Sarah, honey, I have some wonderful news." Her voice had that excited, breathless quality it got when she was really thrilled about something. "Emily just got promoted!" My stomach did a little flip, not jealousy exactly, but that familiar feeling of being a step behind. "Oh wow, that's fantastic. What's the new position?" "Senior Marketing Director. Can you believe it? At 28! Her boss called her into his office this morning and just offered it to her on the spot. She starts Monday with a 30% salary increase and her own team. Mom, that's incredible. I'm so proud of her." And I was. Emily had worked incredibly hard for this. She'd put in 12-hour days, sacrificed weekends, taken on projects that nobody else wanted. She deserved this promotion completely. I know, right? I'm just so proud I could burst. She's already talking about looking for a bigger apartment. Maybe something downtown closer to the office. David looked up from the seating chart, eyebrows raised in question. I mouthed, "Emily got promoted," and he grinned, giving me a thumbs up. "Is she there? I want to congratulate her." "Oh, she's out apartment hunting already, can you believe it? But listen, sweetheart, that's actually why I'm calling. We need to talk about something important." Something in Mom's tone shifted, became more serious. The excited breathlessness was still there, but underneath it was something else, something that made my chest tighten. "Okay, what's up?" "Well, with Emily's promotion, we really need to celebrate properly. You know how hard she's worked for this, and it's such a huge achievement. I was thinking we could throw her a celebration party, something really special to mark this milestone." I felt David's eyes on me as my brain tried to process what Mom was saying. "That sounds great, Mom. When were you thinking? Maybe we could do something the weekend after my engagement party?" There was a pause. A long, uncomfortable pause that made my palms start to sweat. "Actually, honey, that's what I wanted to talk to you about. I think we should do Emily's celebration instead of your engagement party." The words hit me like a physical blow. I actually gasped loud enough that David immediately set down the seating chart and moved closer to me on the couch. "What do you mean instead of?" "Well, think about it rationally, sweetheart. Emily's promotion is a once-in-a-lifetime achievement. She's the youngest senior director in her company's history. This is the kind of success that deserves a real celebration, with all our family and friends there to honor her accomplishment." My mouth had gone completely dry. "But Mom, my engagement party is in 3 weeks. We've planned everything, sent invitations. People have RSVP'd. I know it's not ideal timing, but these opportunities don't wait for convenient moments. Emily's boss wants to introduce her to some major clients at a celebration event. This could set up her entire career trajectory." David was staring at me now, clearly able to hear both sides of the conversation. His face had gone from confused to concerned to something that looked like anger. "Mom, I don't understand. Why can't we do both? Emily's promotion is amazing, but my engagement party has been planned for months. People have made arrangements, bought gifts, requested time off work." "Sarah, honey, you have to understand. Emily has always been the achiever in this family. This is her moment to shine. Engagement parties happen all the time, but becoming the youngest senior director at a Fortune 500 company, that's extraordinary." The words felt like a slap. David reached over and took my free hand, squeezing it tightly. But this is my moment, Mom. Mine and David's. We're celebrating our engagement, our future together. This is important to me. Of course it's important, sweetheart, but be reasonable. You and David are going to have a whole wedding to celebrate. Emily just has this one achievement to honor. And think about it. Wouldn't you feel terrible if we overshadowed her promotion with your party? You know how much this means to her. I was quiet for a long moment, trying to organize my thoughts. This couldn't be happening. My mother couldn't seriously be asking me to cancel my engagement party, the party I'd been planning for 8 months, the party that had consumed my thoughts and dreams and budget for the better part of a year. Mom, I'm not trying to overshadow anything. I want to celebrate Emily too, but my engagement party is already planned. Can't we find another weekend for her celebration? Sarah Elizabeth Martinez. Mom's voice had shifted into that tone I remembered from childhood, the one that meant the discussion was over and I was being unreasonable. I am disappointed in your attitude. This is your sister we're talking about, your little sister who has worked herself to the bone to achieve something incredible. And you're worried about a party? It's not just a party, Mom. It's my engagement party. It's celebrating the most important relationship in my life. And Emily's promotion is celebrating the most important achievement in hers. Sarah, I raised you to be supportive of your family. Emily has always been there for you, and now when she needs our support, you're being selfish. Selfish. The word hung in the air like smoke. David's grip on my hand tightened, and I could see the anger building in his eyes. How am I being selfish by not canceling my own engagement party? Because you're putting your own desires above what's best for the family. Emily's success reflects on all of us. When she walks into that celebration with our whole family there supporting her, she'll know that her achievements matter to us. But if we're all scattered between 2 different events, it diminishes the significance of what she's accomplished. I felt tears starting to burn behind my eyes. What about the significance of what I'm celebrating? What about David and me and our future together? Honey, you'll have plenty of opportunities to celebrate your relationship, the wedding, anniversaries, holidays, but Emily will never get another chance to celebrate becoming the youngest senior director in her company's history. David was shaking his head now, his jaw clenched in a way I'd rarely seen. Mom, I need to think about this. What's to think about? Sarah, this is about supporting your family. Emily would do it for you in a heartbeat. Would she? Would Emily really cancel her celebration for my engagement party? Of course she would. She's always put family first. That's what we do in this family. We support each other. But as Mom said it, I realized I couldn't actually remember a time when Emily had been asked to sacrifice something important for me. She'd always been the star, the achiever, the one everyone gathered around to celebrate. Had there ever been a moment where she'd been asked to step aside for my moment? I need to talk to David about this. David will understand. He's such a reasonable man. I'm sure he'll see that family comes first. The presumption in her voice, that of course David would agree to cancel our party. Of course he'd understand that Emily's achievement was more important than our engagement, made something crack inside my chest. I'll call you back, Mom. Sarah, don't make this harder than it needs to be. Do the right thing for your family. I hung up and immediately burst into tears. David pulled me into his arms, and for several minutes I just sobbed against his chest while he rubbed my back and made soothing sounds. What the hell was that? He finally asked. My mom wants me to cancel our engagement party so they can throw Emily a promotion celebration instead. She wants you to what? David's voice was carefully controlled, but I could hear the fury underneath. Emily got promoted to senior director, and Mom thinks that's more important than our engagement. She said engagement parties happen all the time, but this promotion is once in a lifetime. David was quiet for a long moment. Sarah, look at me. I lifted my head from his chest and met his eyes. Your engagement party is not less important than your sister's promotion. Your happiness is not less important than hers. And the fact that your mother thinks it's reasonable to ask you to cancel something you've been planning for 8 months to make room for something that happened today is absolutely insane. But what if she's right? What if I'm being selfish? Baby, you are the least selfish person I know. You've spent the last 8 months trying to plan a party that would make everyone else happy. Half the guest list is people your parents insisted on inviting. You chose the venue partly because it was close to your dad's work. You're serving your mom's favorite food at the cocktail hour. When exactly have you been selfish? He was right, but it didn't make the guilt go away. Growing up in my family meant always considering everyone else's needs first. It meant being accommodating, flexible, understanding. It meant that when Emily needed something, the whole family rallied around her. Maybe we could postpone it? Sarah, no, we're not postponing our engagement party because your sister got a promotion. That's not how this works. My phone rang again. Mom's picture lit up the screen. Don't answer it, David said immediately. But I couldn't ignore my mother. I'd never been able to ignore my mother. Hi, Mom. Sarah, I've been thinking about our conversation and I realize I may have come across as insensitive. I know how much work you've put into planning this party. Relief flooded through me. Thank you, Mom. I was starting to feel crazy. But honey, I still think the right thing to do is to support Emily. What if we compromise? What if we turn your engagement party into a dual celebration? We could celebrate your engagement and Emily's promotion together. The relief evaporated instantly. Mom, no, that's not a compromise. That's still taking away my party. How is it taking away your party? You'd still be celebrating your engagement. But it wouldn't be about David and me anymore. It would be about Emily's achievement, and we'd just be the opening act. Sarah Elizabeth, that is an incredibly selfish way to look at this situation. There was that word again. Selfish. The worst thing you could be in my family. Mom, how is wanting my own engagement party selfish? Because you're putting your own desires above what's best for Emily. She needs our support right now. This promotion is huge for her career, and she deserves to have her family rally around her. What about rallying around me? What about supporting my engagement? We are supporting your engagement. We've been planning this party for months. But now you want to cancel it. I want to do what's best for the whole family. David gestured for the phone. I shook my head, but he was insistent. Mom, can I put David on for a second? Of course, honey. I'd love to hear his thoughts on this. I handed him the phone with a sick feeling in my stomach. Hi, Linda. It's David. His voice was perfectly polite, but I could see the tension in his shoulders. I just wanted to say how excited I am about Emily's promotion. That's incredible news, and she should definitely be celebrated. Thank you, David. I knew you'd understand how important this is. Absolutely. Emily has worked so hard for this achievement. I think you should throw her the biggest celebration possible. He paused. The weekend after our engagement party. The silence on the other end of the line was deafening. David, I think you may not fully understand the situation. Emily's promotion is time-sensitive. Her company wants to do introductions. With respect, Linda, our engagement party has been planned for 8 months. People have made arrangements, bought gifts, requested time off work. Asking Sarah to cancel it now would be incredibly unfair to her and to all of our guests. But surely you can see that Emily's achievement is wonderful and deserves to be celebrated, just not at the expense of Sarah's happiness. Another long pause. David, I'm surprised by your attitude. I thought you understood how important family is to Sarah. I do understand. That's exactly why I'm confused about why you'd ask her to sacrifice something so important to her. I'm not asking her to sacrifice anything. I'm asking her to be flexible and supportive. By canceling her engagement party. By prioritizing what's best for the family. David looked at me with an expression I'd never seen before. Like he was seeing my family clearly for the first time. Linda, I think we're going to have to agree to disagree on this one. Our engagement party is happening as planned. I hope you'll throw Emily a wonderful celebration the following weekend. David, I really think you should reconsider. The decision is made. I'll let you talk to Sarah now. He handed me back the phone, and I could practically feel my mother's frustration radiating through the speaker. Sarah, I'm very disappointed in David's attitude. I thought he understood our family better than this. Mom, he's defending me. He's defending our engagement party. He's being stubborn and selfish, and apparently he's encouraging you to be the same way. The accusation hit me like a punch to the gut. David isn't selfish, he's… Sarah, let me ask you something. Do you remember when you were 12 and wanted to quit piano lessons because they conflicted with Emily's soccer games? I had a vague memory of this, but I wasn't sure why she was bringing it up now. Sort of, why? You quit without complaint because you understood that Emily's soccer was important to her development. You put her needs first because that's what families do. You've always been so good at that, sweetheart. You've always understood that sometimes we have to sacrifice our own wants for the good of the people we love. The memory was clearer now. I had wanted to quit piano lessons, but not because of Emily's soccer. I'd wanted to quit because I wasn't very good and the teacher made me feel stupid. But Mom was right. I'd used Emily's schedule as an excuse because it was easier than admitting I was failing at something. Mom, that was different. How was it different? Because piano lessons were something I wanted to quit anyway. This is my engagement party. This is important to me. And Emily's promotion is important to her. More important than a party, Sarah. This could set up her entire future. What about my future? What about David and me? You'll have a future regardless of whether you have this party or not, but Emily's career momentum could be affected by how we support her right now. I felt like I was drowning. Every argument I made seemed to get twisted around until I was the one being unreasonable, selfish, unsupportive. Mom, I don't want to fight about this anymore. The party is happening. Sarah Elizabeth Martinez, you are being incredibly selfish right now. Do you hear yourself? Your sister achieved something extraordinary, and all you can think about is your party. It's not just a party. Of course it's just a party. It's one night, Sarah. One night that you're prioritizing over your sister's entire career trajectory. I was crying again, tears of frustration and anger and hurt. Fine, I said quietly. Fine what? Fine. I'll think about it. Thank you, sweetheart. I knew you'd come around. This is the right thing to do, and deep down you know it. She hung up, and I immediately collapsed back into David's arms. What did you just agree to? He asked. I said I'd think about it. Sarah, no. We are not canceling our engagement party. But what if she's right? What if I am being selfish? Baby, listen to me. Your mother just spent 20 minutes trying to convince you that your happiness doesn't matter as much as your sister's career. That's not normal. That's not how loving families operate. But Emily's promotion really is a big deal. So is our engagement. So is our relationship. So is your happiness. David's voice cracked with emotion. Sarah, I love you. I love you so much that I've spent the last 8 months watching you stress over every detail of this party because I know how important it is to you. I've watched you compromise on every single thing to make other people happy. The venue, the menu, the guest list, even the date. All of it was influenced by what other people wanted. And now your mother wants you to give up the whole thing for your sister, and you're actually considering it? I don't know what to think anymore. Think about this. When is the last time your family asked Emily to sacrifice something important for you? I opened my mouth to answer, then closed it. I genuinely couldn't think of a single example. They wouldn't, I said quietly. They'd never ask Emily to give up something important for me. And why do you think that is? Because Emily's achievements matter more than mine. No, Sarah, because they've trained you to believe that your happiness matters less than everyone else's. That night, I lay awake staring at the ceiling while David slept next to me. My brain kept cycling through the conversation with Mom, trying to find a way to make it make sense. Was I really being selfish? Was Emily's promotion more important than my engagement party? By morning, I hadn't slept more than 2 hours, and my decision was made. I was not canceling my engagement party. David was right. This was important to me, and I deserved to celebrate it. But first, I needed to talk to Emily. I called her at 9 a.m., knowing she'd be up getting ready for her first day as senior director. Sarah, oh my God, can you believe it? I'm so nervous and excited I can barely function. Congratulations. I'm so proud of you. You've worked so hard for this. Thank you. I still can't believe it's real. I keep thinking someone's going to call and say it was a mistake. It's not a mistake. You earned this. Thank you. That means so much coming from you. You've always been so supportive of everything I do. There was genuine warmth in her voice, and I felt a pang of guilt for what I was about to ask. Can I ask you something? Of course, anything. Did Mom talk to you about my engagement party? There was a pause. What do you mean? She called yesterday and asked me to cancel it so you could have a promotion celebration instead. The silence stretched so long I thought the call had dropped. Emily, are you there? I'm here. Sarah, I had no idea Mom said that to you. That's crazy. Relief flooded through me. So you didn't ask her to? God, no. Sarah, your engagement party has been planned for months. I would never ask you to cancel it for me. But she said your company wants to do some kind of celebration with clients. My boss mentioned maybe having drinks with the team to celebrate, but that's not the same thing as a family party, and it definitely doesn't require you to cancel your engagement. So you don't think I'm being selfish for refusing? Selfish? Sarah, you planning your own engagement party is not selfish. That's literally what people do when they get engaged. I started crying with relief. I was starting to think I was going crazy. You're not crazy, and I can't believe Mom put you in this position. Your engagement party is going to be beautiful, and I'm so excited to be your maid of honor. You still want to be my maid of honor? Of course I do. Sarah, this is your moment. I would never want to take that away from you. After I hung up with Emily, I felt better than I had in 24 hours. My sister supported me. My fiancé supported me. I was not being unreasonable, but then Mom called again. Sarah, I talked to Emily, and she's disappointed that you won't support her celebration. My heart sank. She said that? She's too sweet to say it directly, but I could tell. She's hurt that her own sister won't prioritize her achievement. But that wasn't what Emily had said at all. Emily had been completely supportive of my engagement party. Was Mom lying? Or had Emily said something different to her than she'd said to me? Mom, Emily told me she didn't want me to cancel my party. Oh, honey, of course she'd say that. Emily would never want to impose. But actions speak louder than words. The fact that you're choosing your party over her celebration speaks volumes about your priorities. I felt like I was losing my mind. Every conversation seemed to twist reality until I didn't know what was true anymore. I'm not choosing my party over her celebration. I'm just not canceling mine so she can have one. Sarah, I'm going to say something, and I want you to really hear me. You have always struggled with jealousy when it comes to Emily's success. The words hit me like a physical blow. That's not true, isn't it? Remember when she got the lead in the school play and you had that tantrum? I had been 8 years old. Emily was the star, as always, and I'd been cast as a tree. I'd cried because I wanted a speaking part, not because I was jealous of Emily specifically. Mom, I was 8. Age doesn't change jealousy, sweetheart. It just makes it more sophisticated. And right now, you're so focused on your own moment that you can't celebrate your sister's incredible achievement. I am celebrating her achievement. I told her how proud I am. I want her to have a wonderful celebration, just not instead of my engagement party. But that's exactly the problem, Sarah. You want Emily to have a celebration, but only if it doesn't interfere with your plans. That's not how family works. I felt trapped in some kind of logical maze where every turn led back to me being wrong, selfish, jealous, unsupportive. Mom, I can't do this anymore. My engagement party is happening as planned. Sarah Elizabeth, if you go through with this party after everything I've said, you will be choosing your own desires over your family. And that will hurt me and your father and Emily more than you can imagine. Then don't let it hurt you. Come to my engagement party and celebrate Emily the next weekend. You're asking me to choose between my daughters. No, I'm asking you to support both of your daughters. But I can't support a decision I fundamentally disagree with. Sarah, if you have this party knowing how it affects Emily, I don't think I can be there. The threat hung in the air like smoke. My own mother was threatening not to come to my engagement party. You're not coming? How can I? How can I celebrate your engagement when you're using it to overshadow your sister's achievement? I'm not using it to overshadow anything. The party was planned months ago. But you're choosing to keep it scheduled now, knowing the impact it will have. I was sobbing now. Ugly, desperate sobs that made it hard to speak. So, you won't come to my engagement party. Sarah, don't put this on me. You're making the choice here. You can choose to support your family, or you can choose to be selfish. But you can't have both. She hung up, and I collapsed on my kitchen floor, crying so hard I thought I might throw up. When David came home from work and found me still on the floor, he didn't say a word. He just sat down next to me and pulled me into his arms. "She's not coming," I whispered. "Who's not coming?" "My mom. She's not coming to our engagement party." "What?" "She said if I don't cancel it, she can't support my decision. She thinks I'm being selfish and jealous and using my engagement to overshadow Emily." David was quiet for a long time, just holding me while I cried. "Sarah," he finally said, "I need to ask you something, and I need you to really think about the answer." "Okay." "In your entire life, can you remember a single time when your happiness was the priority in your family?" I tried to think. Birthdays were always shared celebrations because Emily's was only 2 weeks after mine. Christmas was about making sure Emily got the gifts she really wanted. Family vacations were planned around Emily's school schedule, her soccer tournaments, her preferences. "I don't know," I said quietly. "When you graduated college, what did your family do to celebrate?" "We went to dinner." A dinner where the conversation had somehow shifted to Emily's internship prospects within the first 10 minutes. "When you got your promotion last year?" "They said congratulations." But when Emily had gotten her promotion 6 months earlier, Dad had taken the whole family out for a celebratory weekend in Chicago. "When you moved in with me?" "They helped us move." But when Emily had moved into her downtown apartment, Mom had spent 3 weeks helping her decorate, and Dad had bought her a housewarming gift that cost more than our monthly rent. "Sarah, do you see the pattern?" I did see it. For the first time in my life, I saw it clearly. My achievements were acknowledged. Emily's achievements were celebrated. My milestones were noted. Emily's milestones were events. "But that doesn't mean they love me less," I said weakly. "Doesn't it? They just express love differently. Sarah, when someone loves you, they want to celebrate your happiness. They don't ask you to sacrifice it for someone else's." That night, I called my dad. "Hi, sweetheart, how are you holding up?" "Dad, are you planning to come to my engagement party?" There was a long pause. "Your mother and I are still discussing the situation." "What situation?" "It's my engagement party, the one we've been planning for 8 months. Sarah, you know how proud we are of Emily's promotion. I'm proud of it too, but I don't understand why that means I have to cancel my party. It's not about canceling, sweetheart. It's about timing and priorities." "What about my priorities, Dad? What about celebrating David and me?" "Of course we want to celebrate you, but Emily's achievement is time-sensitive." "How is a promotion time-sensitive but an engagement isn't?" Dad sighed heavily. "Sarah, your mother thinks this would be a good opportunity for you to show maturity and put family first." "I am putting family first. I'm planning a party where our whole family can come together and celebrate." "But it overshadows Emily's moment." "How does my engagement party overshadow Emily's promotion? They're completely different things." "Because people only have so much emotional energy, sweetheart. If they're focused on celebrating your engagement, they won't be able to fully appreciate Emily's achievement." The logic was so twisted it made my head hurt. "Dad, do you want to come to my engagement party?" Another long pause. "I want to support my family." "That's not what I asked." "Sarah, I think you should really consider your mother's suggestion. Show Emily that her success matters to you." "By sacrificing my own celebration?" "By being the bigger person." I hung up and immediately called Emily back. I need to ask you something, and I need you to be completely honest with me." "Okay, shoot. Do you want me to cancel my engagement party so you can have a promotion celebration?" "Sarah, no, absolutely not. I told you that yesterday. And you didn't talk to Mom about being disappointed that I won't cancel it?" "What? No." "I never said anything like that to Mom." She said you were hurt that I wouldn't prioritize your achievement. Sarah, that's not true. I never said that, and I don't feel that way. Your engagement party has nothing to do with my promotion. They're two completely separate things to celebrate. Then why is Mom saying you're disappointed? Emily was quiet for a moment. I don't know. But Sarah, I need to tell you something. What? This isn't the first time Mom has done something like this. What do you mean? Remember when you got into state and I got into Northwestern? Yeah. Mom told me you were jealous and upset about my scholarship. She said you felt like I was overshadowing your achievement and that I should downplay my acceptance so you could feel better about yours. My blood went cold. She said what? But then when I talked to you about it, you were genuinely excited for me. You weren't jealous at all, and I realized Mom had been lying. Why would she lie about that? I don't know. But Sarah, I think she does this thing where she pits us against each other. She tells each of us that the other one is hurt or jealous, and then we end up feeling guilty for things we never did. So, I felt like the ground was shifting beneath my feet. How many times has she done this? I can think of at least 3 or 4 over the years, maybe more. Why didn't you ever tell me? Because I wasn't sure, and I didn't want to cause drama. But this thing with your engagement party is so obviously wrong that I can't stay quiet anymore. I was quiet for a long time, processing this information. Emily, what should I do? Have your engagement party. Celebrate your engagement. Don't let Mom manipulate you into giving up something that's important to you. But she and Dad might not come. Then that's their choice. And it says everything about them and nothing about you. I'm scared. I know. But Sarah, you deserve to be celebrated. You deserve to have your moment. And anyone who tries to take that away from you doesn't have your best interests at heart. So after I hung up with Emily, I sat in my living room staring at the engagement party invitations stacked on my coffee table. 127 people were expecting to celebrate David and me in 2.5 weeks. The venue was booked, the caterer was confirmed, the flowers were ordered. David came home to find me still staring at the invitations. How are you feeling? He asked gently. Like my whole family is falling apart. Your family isn't falling apart. The dysfunction that was already there is just becoming visible. Emily says Mom has done this before, pitted us against each other by lying about what we said or felt. That doesn't surprise me at all. Why not? Because I've watched her do it with smaller things since I've known you. She'll tell you Emily said something about your hair or your job, and then when you talk to Emily, it turns out she never said anything like that. I stared at him. Why didn't you ever point that out? Because it wasn't my place. But Sarah, your mom creates drama between you and Emily so she can swoop in and solve it. It makes her feel important and needed. That's sick. It's manipulative. And the fact that she's willing to ruin your engagement party to do it shows how far she'll go. I picked up one of the invitations and stared at the elegant script. David, what if no one from my family comes? Then we'll have an amazing party with 127 people who actually love and support us. But it's my family. Family isn't just about blood, Sarah. Family is about the people who want to see you happy, who support your dreams, who celebrate your successes without making you feel guilty about them. I looked around our little apartment, at the engagement photos on the mantle, at the gifts from friends who were excited about our future, at the man who had spent the last 3 days defending my right to my own happiness. You're my family, I said quietly, and you're mine. But Sarah, Emily is your family too, and all of our friends who are excited to celebrate with us. And your Aunt Rose, who called yesterday to ask if she could bring her famous cheesecake. Those are the people who matter. What about Mom and Dad? They're your parents, and you love them. But love doesn't mean accepting toxic behavior. Love doesn't mean sacrificing your happiness to manage their emotions. That Friday morning, exactly 2 weeks before my engagement party, I woke up with a clarity I hadn't felt in days. I was not canceling my party. I was not postponing it. I was not turning it into a dual celebration. This was my moment, David's and mine, and anyone who couldn't support that didn't deserve to be there. I called my mom one final time. Hi, Mom. Sarah, sweetheart, have you made a decision about the party? Yes, I have. My engagement party is happening as planned on Saturday, October 14th. You're invited, Dad's invited, Emily's invited. I hope you'll all be there. Sarah, I thought we discussed this. Emily's celebration can happen any weekend you want to plan it, but it's not happening instead of my engagement party. I'm very disappointed in this decision. I'm sorry you feel that way, but Mom, I need you to understand something. This is my engagement. This is my celebration, and I'm not giving it up. Then I don't think your father and I can be there. That's your choice, but I hope you'll reconsider. Sarah, you're making a mistake. You're choosing your own desires over your family. No, Mom. I'm choosing to celebrate my engagement. There's nothing wrong with that. You ungrateful girl! The explosion came out of nowhere, her voice rising to a scream. You've humiliated your sister. You've embarrassed this entire family with your selfishness. I held the phone away from my ear, shocked by the venom in her voice. After everything your father and I have done for you, this is how you repay us? By putting your own wants above your sister's needs? By refusing to show even basic consideration for Emily's feelings? Mom, Emily told me she doesn't want me to cancel. Don't you dare lie to me. I know how hurt she is. I'm her mother. You're my mother too, I said quietly. Then act like my daughter. Act like someone I raised to care about family. I was crying again, but this time it was different. This time I was crying because I finally saw clearly what was happening. I do care about family, Mom. That's why I'm having this party, to celebrate the family David and I are creating together. Don't you call him family over us. Don't you dare. David is going to be my husband. He is my family. Then maybe you don't need us anymore. The threat was clear, and it took my breath away. Mom, please don't do this. I'm not doing anything, Sarah. You made your choice. She hung up, and I collapsed onto my couch, sobbing. But underneath the sadness was something else, something that felt almost like relief. David found me there when he came home from his morning run. What happened? He asked, immediately pulling me into his arms. I told her the party was happening as planned. Good for you. She screamed at me, called me ungrateful and selfish, said I was embarrassing the family. Sarah, I am so proud of you for standing up for yourself. She said maybe I don't need them anymore. Baby, if they're willing to cut you off because you won't cancel your engagement party, then maybe you're better off without them. I knew he was right, but it didn't make it hurt less. That weekend, I threw myself into final party preparations, trying not to think about the fact that my parents might not be there. Emily called every day to check on me and to reassure me that she was still excited to be my maid of honor. Sarah, no matter what happens with Mom and Dad, I'll be there, and it's going to be the most beautiful celebration. What if they really don't come? Then everyone there will be someone who actually wants to celebrate you and David. That's not the worst thing in the world. Monday morning, I was at work trying to focus on a client presentation when my phone rang. It was a number I didn't recognize. Hello, this is Sarah. Sarah, honey, this is your Aunt Rose. Hi, Aunt Rose. How are you? I'm fine, sweetheart, but I'm calling because I'm confused about something. What's going on? Well, your mother called me yesterday and said your engagement party was canceled. She said you and David decided to postpone it indefinitely. My blood went cold. She said what? That's what I thought. I figured if you'd canceled your party, you would have called me yourself. Aunt Rose, my engagement party is absolutely not canceled. It's this Saturday as planned. I thought so. Sarah, what's going on with your mother? I gave her a brief overview of the situation, and when I finished, there was a long silence. Honey, that is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Of course you're not canceling your engagement party for Emily's promotion. They're two completely different things. Mom seems to think I'm being selfish. Selfish? Sarah, wanting your own engagement party is not selfish. It's normal. She said Emily was hurt that I wouldn't prioritize her achievement. Did Emily tell you that? No, Emily said the opposite. She said she never wanted me to cancel my party. Then, your mother is lying, and frankly, I'm disgusted by her behavior. Relief flooded through me. Someone else could see how crazy this was. Aunt Rose, will you still come to the party? Wild horses couldn't keep me away. And honey, I've already talked to your Uncle Jim and Cousin Lisa. We're all coming, and we're all bringing extra appetites to make up for your parents' absence. Thank you. That means everything to me. Sarah, I want you to know something. Your mother has always been complicated. Even when we were kids, she had to be the center of attention. She couldn't stand it when anyone else was celebrated. What do you mean? I mean, this pattern isn't new. When your father and I got engaged, she threw a fit because our engagement party was too close to her birthday. When Jim got his promotion at the bank, she suddenly developed a mysterious illness that required constant attention. She's always found ways to make other people's moments about her. This was a revelation. I had no idea. We've all learned to manage around it over the years. But Sarah, what she's doing to you is beyond the pale. This is your engagement. This is your celebration. And the fact that she's trying to take it away from you tells you everything you need to know about her priorities. After I hung up with Aunt Rose, I called Emily and told her about Mom calling relatives to say the party was canceled. She did what? Emily's voice was furious. Sarah, that's insane. She's actively trying to sabotage your party. Why would she do that? Because if she can't control the situation, she wants to destroy it. Sarah, this is really sick behavior. I'm starting to think I don't know my own mother. I don't think any of us do. But Sarah, I'm going to start calling everyone on the guest list to make sure they know the party is still happening. You don't have to do that. Yes, I do. You're my sister, and I'm not letting Mom ruin your engagement party. That evening, David and I sat down and made our own list of everyone we needed to call. By the end of the night, we'd contacted every single guest to confirm that the party was still happening. Most of them were shocked that anyone would suggest canceling an engagement party for a work promotion. That's the weirdest thing I've ever heard, said my college roommate Jenny. Why would your mom want you to cancel your party? I honestly don't know anymore. Well, I'll be there with bells on. And Sarah? Your mom is wrong. You deserve to celebrate your engagement. By Wednesday of that week, I'd heard from almost everyone on the guest list. They were all still coming, they were all excited, and most importantly, they all thought the idea of canceling an engagement party for a promotion was absurd. But I still hadn't heard anything from my parents. Thursday night, as I was addressing the last few thank you notes for engagement gifts, my phone rang. It was Emily. Sarah, I need to tell you something. What's wrong? You sound upset. I just had the most horrible conversation with Mom and Dad. What happened? They asked me to call you and convince you to cancel the party. My heart sank. What did you tell them? I told them absolutely not. I told them I thought their behavior was disgusting and that I was proud of you for standing up for yourself. How did they react? Dad got quiet and left the room. Mom started screaming at me about family loyalty and how we were both selfish and ungrateful. Emily, I'm so sorry. I never wanted you to get dragged into this. Sarah, she said something else. Something that really scared me. What? She said if I showed up to your engagement party, I was choosing you over the family. She said I'd be dead to them. I felt sick. Em, you don't have to come. I don't want you to lose your relationship with Mom and Dad because of me. Sarah, stop. I'm coming to your party. I'm your maid of honor, and I'm not letting Mom's crazy behavior change that. But what if she means it? What if she really cuts you off? Then that's her choice. But Sarah, I've been thinking about this all week, and I realized something. This isn't really about your engagement party or my promotion. This is about control. Mom can't stand that you're making a decision she doesn't approve of, so she's trying to punish you into compliance. And now she's punishing you too. Because I won't help her manipulate you. Sarah, this is who she is. This is who she's always been. We just never saw it clearly before because we always gave in. I'm scared, I admitted. I'm scared too. But Sarah, we can't live our lives trying to manage Mom's emotions. We can't sacrifice our happiness every time she throws a tantrum. Friday night, less than 24 hours before my engagement party, I was a nervous wreck. I'd barely slept all week. I'd stress-eaten my way through 2 pints of ice cream, and I'd checked my phone approximately every 30 seconds hoping for some word from my parents. David found me sitting on our bathroom floor, crying into a towel. "Hey, what's going on? What if I'm making a huge mistake? What if Mom is right and I am being selfish?" David sat down next to me on the cold tile floor. "Sarah, can I tell you what I see when I look at this situation?" I nodded. "I see a woman who spent 8 months planning a beautiful celebration of our love. I see someone who compromised on every single detail to make other people happy. I see someone who invited her parents' friends, served her mother's favorite food, and chose a venue that was convenient for her father. And when her family asked her to sacrifice all of that for something completely unrelated, I see someone who finally said no. But what if saying no was wrong? Baby, saying no to unreasonable requests isn't wrong. It's healthy. But they're my parents. And I'm going to be your husband, and Emily is your sister, and all of our friends who've been excited about this party for months are also your family. Why do your parents' feelings matter more than everyone else's?" He was right, but 32 years of family programming was hard to overcome in a week. What if they never forgive me? Then they never forgive you. Sarah, that would be their choice, not yours. You're not asking them to do anything unreasonable. You're just asking them to celebrate your engagement at a party you've been planning for 8 months. When you put it like that, it does sound reasonable. That's because it is reasonable. Sarah, tomorrow is going to be the most beautiful day. We're going to celebrate our love with people who actually want to see us happy. And if your parents choose not to be part of that, it's their loss. I leaned against David's shoulder and tried to imagine tomorrow without my parents there. It made me sad, but it didn't make me want to cancel anymore. "I love you," I said quietly. "I love you too. And tomorrow we're going to have the most amazing engagement party." Saturday morning, I woke up early and immediately checked my phone. No missed calls, no texts, no last-minute change of heart from my parents. Emily arrived at 9 a.m. with coffee, bagels, and a huge smile. "Today is your day," she announced. "No drama, no stress, no guilt, just celebrating you and David." "Are you sure you're okay with them being mad at you?" "Sarah, I've never been more sure of anything. What they're doing is wrong, and I'm not going to enable it anymore." As I got ready, friends started arriving to help with final preparations. Jenny came with flowers. My coworker Lisa brought extra chairs. David's sister brought champagne for mimosas. Our little apartment filled with laughter and excitement, and for the first time all week, I started to feel genuinely happy. At 2 p.m., guests started arriving at the venue. The space looked absolutely beautiful. Twinkling lights, white flowers everywhere, elegant table settings. David looked handsome in his navy suit, and I felt like a princess in my flowing dress. One by one, people came up to congratulate us. Uncle Jim and Aunt Rose, David's parents, college friends, work colleagues, neighbors. Everyone was genuinely excited to be there, genuinely happy for us. At 2:45, 15 minutes after the party had officially started, I was still watching the door. Part of me still hoped my parents would show up, would decide that celebrating their daughter was more important than whatever point they were trying to make. But at 3 p.m., Emily clinked her champagne glass and called for attention. "I want to make a toast," she announced, "to my sister Sarah and her fiancé David." The room quieted, and I felt everyone's attention focus on us. "Sarah, you are the kindest, most generous person I know. You've always been there for everyone in your life, always ready to help, always willing to sacrifice your own needs to make other people happy. And David, you are the perfect match for her. You see her value, you support her dreams, and you make her laugh every single day." Emily's voice started to crack with emotion. "Today is about celebrating your love, your future, and the beautiful life you're building together, and I am so honored to be here, so proud to be your sister, and so excited to watch you two create your own family." She raised her glass. "To Sarah and David!" "To Sarah and David," the room echoed back. As everyone cheered and clapped, I looked around at the faces surrounding us. These were people who loved us, who wanted to see us happy, who had made the effort to be here on our special day. My parents weren't there, but we were surrounded by family anyway, our chosen family, our real family. David pulled me close and whispered in my ear, "How do you feel?" I looked around one more time at the celebration we'd created, at Emily beaming with pride, at our friends dancing and laughing. "Happy," I said, and for the first time in a week, I meant it completely. "I feel really, really happy." But even as I celebrated, even as I danced with David and laughed with friends and felt genuinely joyful, there was a part of me that kept waiting for the other shoe to drop. Some part of me knew that my parents' absence wasn't just about this party. It was about something bigger, something that would change our relationship forever. I just had no idea how right I was, or what I would discover the next morning that would shatter everything I thought I knew about my family. Sunday morning, I woke up feeling lighter than I had in weeks. The engagement party had been everything I'd dreamed of and more. David was still sleeping next to me, and I could hear Emily in our kitchen making coffee. She'd stayed over after helping us clean up the venue. I grabbed my phone to check the time and saw 17 missed calls from a number I didn't recognize. My heart started racing. 17 calls from 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. was never good news. I called the number back, and a woman answered immediately. "Sarah? Thank God. This is Margaret Thompson, David's Aunt Maggie. I've been trying to reach you all morning." "Aunt Maggie, what's wrong? Is everyone okay?" "Honey, I need to tell you something, and it's going to be upsetting. I was at the grocery store yesterday morning, and I overheard your mother talking to Mrs. Henderson from your old neighborhood." My stomach dropped. Mrs. Henderson was the biggest gossip in a 5-mile radius. What was she saying? "Sarah, she was telling Mrs. Henderson that Emily never got promoted. She said Emily made up the whole thing to get attention, and that you knew it was a lie but used it as an excuse to be cruel to your family." The words hit me like a physical blow. "She said what?" I was so shocked I almost dropped my groceries. Mrs. Henderson was eating it up, asking all kinds of questions about how disappointed you and David must be in Emily's lies. I felt like I was going to throw up. "Aunt Maggie, Emily did get promoted. I talked to her about it. She starts her new position tomorrow morning." I figured something was off. That's why I've been calling. "Sarah, your mother is telling people that Emily invented the promotion story because she was jealous of your engagement." I was shaking now. "This doesn't make any sense." "There's more, honey. She also told Mrs. Henderson that you've been struggling with mental health issues and that David is having second thoughts about the marriage because of your instability." "She said what?" "I'm so sorry, sweetheart. I know it's awful. But I thought you needed to know what she's saying about you." After I hung up, I sat on the edge of my bed trying to process what I'd just heard. My mother was spreading lies about Emily's promotion and my mental health. She was telling people that my fiancé wanted to leave me. David stirred next to me. "Everything okay, baby?" "David, we need to talk, and we need Emily." 10 minutes later, the three of us were sitting around our kitchen table while I repeated everything Aunt Maggie had told me. "She said I made up the promotion?" Emily's face had gone completely white. "Why would she say that?" "Because if the promotion isn't real, then Sarah canceling her party makes her look like a monster instead of a reasonable person making a difficult choice," David said quietly. "But the promotion is real," Emily said. "I start tomorrow. I have emails, contracts, a new ID badge." "I know it's real. But Mom is rewriting history to make herself the victim." Emily pulled out her phone. "I'm calling her right now." Wait." But she was already dialing. "Mom, it's Emily." I just heard something very disturbing. Her voice was ice cold. "Did you tell Mrs. Henderson that I made up my promotion?" Even from across the table, I could hear my mother's voice rising in denial. "Don't lie to me, Mom. David's aunt heard you yesterday morning. She heard you say I invented the whole thing for attention." There was shouting on the other end of the line. "No, Mom, you listen to me. I start my new job tomorrow morning. I have a contract. I have a new office. I have business cards with Senior Marketing Director printed on them. So either you're lying to the neighbors or you genuinely believe I'm delusional enough to forge corporate documents. Emily was standing now, pacing around our small kitchen. And another thing, did you tell Mrs. Henderson that Sarah has mental health issues and that David wants to break up with her? The shouting got louder. That's what I thought. Mom, what you're doing is sick. You're spreading lies about both of your daughters because Sarah wouldn't cancel her engagement party. Emily hung up and immediately burst into tears. She didn't deny it, she sobbed. She didn't deny any of it. She just kept saying that I wouldn't understand because I'm not a mother. David and I both moved to comfort her, but she held up her hand. There's something else. Something I should have told you yesterday, but I was too scared. What? Friday night, after I told Mom and Dad I was coming to your party no matter what, Dad called me back. He was crying, Sarah. I've never heard Dad cry before. My heart clenched. Despite everything, I still loved my father. What did he say? He said he knew Mom was wrong about the party, but that he couldn't stand up to her anymore. He said she's gotten worse over the years, more controlling, more manipulative. He said he was proud of me for supporting you, but that he was too weak to do it himself. Dad said that? He also said something else. He said this isn't the first time Mom has tried to sabotage something important to you. What do you mean? Emily took a shaky breath. Remember when you applied for that marketing internship in college? The one you really wanted but didn't get? Yeah, of course. They said my references didn't check out. Sarah, Dad said Mom called your professor and told them you were unreliable and had been struggling academically. The room started spinning. She did what? And remember when you and Jake were talking about moving in together after college? Jake had been my serious boyfriend junior and senior year. We'd been planning to get an apartment together after graduation, but his parents had suddenly decided he was too young for such a serious relationship. What about Jake? Mom called his mother and told her you were pressuring him into commitment and that you'd been hinting about marriage and babies. I felt like I was going to be sick. How do you know all this? Because Dad finally told me. He said he's been carrying the guilt for years but was too afraid of Mom to say anything. David's face was dark with anger. Your mother sabotaged your internship and your relationship? Apparently. And Dad said there were other things too. Smaller things. Times when she interfered because she thought I was getting too independent or making poor choices. I was crying now, ugly sobs that shook my whole body. Why would she do that to me? I don't know, Emily said quietly. But Sarah, I think she's been systematically sabotaging your life for years whenever you tried to do something she couldn't control. David stood up abruptly and started pacing. This is insane. This is absolutely insane behavior. What do I do? I whispered. Emily sat down next to me and took my hands. We document everything. We gather evidence, and we protect ourselves. What kind of evidence? Dad's willing to talk. He's tired of being complicit, and I think there are other people who've seen Mom's behavior over the years. That afternoon, Emily and I drove to Dad's office. He worked Sundays sometimes, and Emily had texted him that we were coming. We found him in his small accounting firm, looking older and more tired than I'd ever seen him. Hi, Dad, I said quietly. Sarah, sweetheart, I'm so sorry. He immediately pulled me into a hug, and I could feel him shaking. I'm sorry about your party. I'm sorry about your mother's behavior. I'm sorry about everything. Dad, Emily told me some things about Mom interfering in my life. He pulled back and looked at me with eyes full of guilt and sadness. I should have stopped her. I should have said something years ago. Tell me what happened with my internship. Dad sat down heavily in his desk chair. Your mother convinced herself that if you got that internship, you'd move to Chicago permanently. She said you were too young to be so far from family. So she sabotaged it? She called Professor Williams and told him you'd been missing classes and turning in late assignments. She said you were going through some personal issues and might not be reliable. But none of that was true. I know, you were a good student, Sarah. You deserved that internship. What about Jake? Dad sighed heavily. She was convinced he wasn't good enough for you, said he came from the wrong kind of family, didn't have enough ambition. When you two started talking about moving in together, she panicked. So she called his mother? She told Mrs. Peterson that you were putting pressure on Jake to propose, that you'd been talking about having babies right after graduation. She painted you as this clingy, desperate girl who was trying to trap her son. I felt like someone had punched me in the stomach. Jake and I had broken up shortly after that conversation, with him saying his parents thought we were moving too fast and that maybe we should take a break after graduation. I'd been heartbroken for months. Dad, how could you let her do that? I was a coward. I am a coward. Your mother has this way of making you feel like you're crazy for questioning her. She convinced me that she was protecting you, that she knew what was best. Protecting me from what? From making mistakes. From getting hurt. From leaving the family. Dad's voice cracked. But I see now that she wasn't protecting you. She was controlling you. Emily spoke up. Dad, what about smaller things? Sarah said Mom would sometimes tell her I was upset about things I never said. That happened constantly. Your mother would pit you two against each other by lying about what the other one said or felt. She'd tell Sarah you were jealous of her achievements, then tell you that Sarah felt competitive with you. Why? Because when you two were united, you were harder to control. But when you were suspicious of each other, you'd both come to her for guidance and validation. I felt like I was learning about a completely different person than the mother I'd grown up with. Dad, why are you telling us this now? Because what she did with your engagement party crossed a line I can't ignore anymore. And because Emily stood up to her, and it made me realize how brave you both are and how cowardly I've been. What do you want us to do with this information? I want you to protect yourselves. I want you to set boundaries. And I want you to know that none of her behavior is your fault. Dad reached into his desk drawer and pulled out a small notebook. I started writing things down a few years ago, times when your mother did things that seemed wrong to me. I told myself I was being paranoid, but now I think I was just documenting the truth. He handed me the notebook. Take this, read it. And Sarah, if you decide you don't want a relationship with your mother anymore, I'll understand. What about you, Dad? What are you going to do? I don't know yet, but I can't keep being complicit in her behavior. That evening, David, Emily, and I sat in our living room reading through Dad's notebook. It was 20 pages of carefully documented incidents spanning the last 5 years. Listen to this, Emily said. March 2019. Linda told Sarah that Emily said her new haircut made her look older. When I asked Emily about it, she said she'd complimented Sarah's hair and asked for the name of her stylist. David shook his head. She was creating conflict between you two for no reason. Here's another one, I said. June 2020. Linda convinced Sarah not to apply for the promotion at work because it would be too stressful and David needs a girlfriend who has time for him. When Sarah didn't get promoted 6 months later, Linda said it was because Sarah wasn't ambitious enough. She sabotaged your confidence and then blamed you for the outcome, Emily said. Oh my God, listen to this one. December 2021. Linda told extended family that Sarah and David were having relationship problems and might break up. When relatives asked Sarah about it at Christmas, Sarah was confused and embarrassed. Linda later said she was just trying to prepare everyone in case things didn't work out. David looked furious. She was spreading rumors about our relationship a year and a half ago? We kept reading, and the pattern became impossible to ignore. Mom had been systematically undermining my confidence, my relationships, and my independence for years. She'd isolate me by creating fake conflicts with Emily, then position herself as the only person I could trust for guidance. This is psychological manipulation, Emily said. This is actual emotional manipulation. The scary part is how calculated it all seems, David added. It's not random mean comments. It's a deliberate pattern designed to keep Sarah dependent and insecure. I felt like I was grieving the mother I thought I had while simultaneously feeling relief that I wasn't crazy. All those times I'd felt confused after conversations with her. All those moments when I'd questioned my own perceptions. I'd been right to feel that way. What do I do now? I asked. Now we decide what kind of relationship, if any, you want to have with her, Emily said. And we protect you from future manipulation, David added. Monday morning, I called in sick to work. I couldn't imagine sitting through meetings and pretending everything was normal when my entire understanding of my family had just collapsed. Emily took the day off too, her first day as senior marketing director, to stay with me. "Are you sure you should miss your first day?" I asked. "Sarah, family crisis trumps work. My new boss will understand." Around noon, my phone rang. It was Mom. "Don't answer it," David said immediately. "I need to," I said. "I need to hear what she has to say now that I know the truth." I put the phone on speaker so David and Emily could hear. "Hi, Mom. Sarah, we need to talk. Your behavior this weekend was completely unacceptable." "My behavior?" "Turning Emily against me, spreading lies about me to David's family, having your engagement party after I specifically asked you not to. You've embarrassed me in front of the entire community." I looked at David and Emily, both of whom were shaking their heads in amazement. "Mom, I didn't turn Emily against you, and I didn't spread any lies." "Really? Then why is Mrs. Henderson calling me asking questions about Emily's fake promotion? Why is everyone confused about what's real and what isn't?" "Maybe because you told Mrs. Henderson that Emily made up her promotion?" "I never said any such thing." "Mom, David's aunt heard you." "David's aunt misunderstood what she heard. I was explaining how Emily's promotion created an awkward situation for our family." Even knowing what I knew now, Mom's ability to twist reality was still shocking. "Mom, I need to ask you something, and I need you to tell me the truth." "Of course, sweetheart." "Did you call Professor Williams when I was in college and tell him I was unreliable?" There was a long pause. "I don't know what you're talking about." "My marketing internship. The one I didn't get because my references didn't check out." "Sarah, I have no idea what you're referring to." "And Jake. Did you call his mother and tell her I was pressuring him to get married?" Another pause. "Honey, I think you're confused about something." "Dad told me, Mom. He told me everything." The silence stretched for almost 30 seconds. "Your father has been under a lot of stress lately. I think he's confused about some things." "He has a notebook, Mom. 5 years of documentation." "Sarah, I'm very concerned about these accusations you're making. This doesn't sound like you at all." And there it was, the gaslighting in real time. Even confronted with evidence, she was trying to make me question my own reality. "Mom, I'm done." "Done with what?" "Done with this conversation. Done with the manipulation. Done with having a relationship with someone who actively sabotages my life." "Sarah Elizabeth Martinez, you are having some kind of breakdown. These paranoid delusions." I hung up. Emily immediately hugged me. "I am so proud of you. That was the hardest thing I've ever done." "And you handled it perfectly," David said. "You didn't let her gaslight you. You stated your truth and ended the conversation." An hour later, Dad called. "Sarah, your mother is very upset. She says you accused her of terrible things." "Dad, you're the one who told me about those things." "I know, and I stand by everything I said, but she's threatening to kick me out of the house if I don't convince you to apologize." "What do you want to do, Dad?" There was a long pause. "I want to do the right thing for once in my life." "Sarah, I'm leaving your mother." "What?" "I'm 62 years old, and I've spent 35 years enabling her toxic behavior. I can't do it anymore." "Dad, are you sure?" "I've never been more sure of anything. I've already talked to a lawyer. I'm filing for divorce." That evening, Dad showed up at our apartment with 2 suitcases and a broken expression. "Can I stay here for a few days while I find a place?" he asked. "Of course," David said immediately. "You can stay as long as you need." Dad sat down heavily on our couch. "Girls, I owe you both an apology. I failed you as a father. I let your mother manipulate and control you because it was easier than standing up to her." "Dad, you don't have to—" "Yes, I do. Emily, you deserved a father who celebrated your achievements without letting your mother use them as weapons against your sister. And Sarah, you deserved a father who protected you from sabotage instead of enabling it." We all cried together that night, for the family we'd thought we had, for the years of manipulation we'd endured, for the mother and wife who'd chosen control over love. But we also talked about the future, about building healthier relationships based on honesty and support. about creating our own traditions and our own definition of family. Over the next few weeks, the extended family began choosing sides. Aunt Rose and Uncle Jim stood firmly with Emily and me. Dad's siblings were shocked by Mom's behavior and supported his decision to leave. But Mom's side of the family believed her version of events and cut contact with all of us. Emily and I discovered that several cousins had their own stories about Mom's manipulative behavior over the years. Apparently, her need to control and create drama wasn't limited to her immediate family. 2 months later, David and I had our wedding. It was smaller than we'd originally planned, just 40 people, but every single person there genuinely wanted to see us happy. Dad walked me down the aisle with tears in his eyes. Emily was my maid of honor and gave a speech about the importance of chosen family and authentic love. Mom was not invited. She'd burned too many bridges, told too many lies, caused too much pain. Some family members thought we were being too harsh, but Emily and I had learned that protecting our mental health was more important than managing other people's comfort with our boundaries. The wedding was beautiful, joyful, and drama-free. Everything our engagement party had been, but even more meaningful because everyone there had chosen to support us through our family crisis. 6 months after the wedding, I got a call from my former professor, Dr. Williams. "Sarah, I owe you an apology," he said. "I recently learned that the information I received about you during your senior year may have been inaccurate." "What do you mean?" "Your father contacted me. He explained that your mother had misrepresented your academic performance when I was checking references for that internship." "Dr. Williams, you don't need to apologize." "Yes, I do. You were one of my best students, and I let someone else's lies affect my judgment. That internship should have been yours." "Thank you for calling. That means a lot to me." "Sarah, for what it's worth, you've done very well for yourself despite not getting that opportunity. But I wanted you to know that the fault was mine, not yours." After I hung up, I felt a deep sense of vindication, not because I needed Professor Williams' validation, but because it confirmed that my mother's interference had real consequences in my life. I wasn't paranoid or oversensitive. I was a victim of deliberate sabotage. A year after our wedding, Emily got promoted again, this time to Director of Marketing for the entire West Coast division. When she called to tell me, I was genuinely thrilled for her. "Sarah, I have an idea for how to celebrate," she said. "What's that?" "What if we throw you and David a first anniversary party? Make it all about celebrating your marriage and how strong you've both been through everything." I started crying happy tears. That's the most beautiful idea. And this time, we invite only people who actually love and support you. No drama, no manipulation, no hidden agendas. Just love. Just love. That anniversary party was everything our engagement party had been, but without the undercurrent of anxiety and family tension. Dad was there with his new girlfriend, a kind woman who made him laugh more than I'd ever seen. Emily brought the man she'd been dating, someone who celebrated her success instead of feeling threatened by it. David's family surrounded us with warmth and acceptance. We danced to the same song we'd danced to at our wedding, and as David spun me around the floor, I thought about how much had changed in 2 years. "Any regrets?" he whispered in my ear. "About what?" "Choosing our happiness over your mother's control." I looked around the room at all the people who'd stood by us, who'd supported our decision to set boundaries, who'd helped us build a healthier definition of family. "None," I said. "Not a single one." Because the truth was, losing my mother had been devastating, but losing myself to her manipulation would have been worse. Setting boundaries had cost me a relationship, but it had saved my marriage, my mental health, and my future. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is refuse to enable someone's toxic behavior, even when that someone is your own mother. Sometimes protecting your happiness means disappointing people who claim to love you but can't celebrate your success. And sometimes the family you choose is more loyal, more supportive, and more loving than the family you were born into. That night, as David and I cleaned up after our anniversary party, I found a card that Dad had left on the gift table. Inside, he'd written, "Sarah, thank you for being brave enough to break the cycle. You saved not just yourself, but all of us." I'd started this journey thinking I was just planning an engagement party, But I'd ended up discovering my own strength, building authentic relationships, and learning that love shouldn't require you to sacrifice your happiness. The girl who'd been too scared to disappoint her mother was gone. In her place was a woman who knew her worth, protected her peace, and surrounded herself with people who wanted to see her thrive. And that transformation was worth more than any family drama we'd had to endure to get there.